In this video we're going to be taking a look at the complete beginner basics of Blender. So to start off I'm going to go and create a new project. So I'm going to go File, New and General. Alright, so first off we're going to take a look around our scene by holding the middle mouse wheel. Hold it in and drag, and then you can look around from all different angles. You can also press the number keys on the right of your keyboard, like number 1 for the front, number 7 for the top, number 3 for the right, and the other keys also do different preset angles. If you look over to the top right, we can also click on these to get the same preset angles all around. Okay, so next up we're going to go ahead and delete the default cube by left clicking and hitting delete on the keyboard. And now we can go up to the top and click add, and this is going to bring up a list of objects that we can add into our scene. The shortcut for this is Shift and A for add, and this will bring up the exact same list. So I'm going to go into the mesh category and I'm going to choose a UV sphere. And if we look down at the bottom left and click this arrow, this opens up a lot more settings that we can play with. And these are going to be unique for each different object that you add. So this sphere give us some settings for segments and rings. So we can see at the moment it's looking quite low poly, like low quality. So we could change that by putting up the rings and the segments. But a quick way is to just right click and choose Shade Smooth, and that's going to give you a rounded look, a smooth look, without adding extra geometry. So I'm going to go ahead and add another object. This time I'm going to pick a cube, and then I can press number 7 on the keypad to go from a top view, and we can see this cube perfectly fits the grid. So what I'm going to do is go up to the top where this little magnet icon is and enable that, and if this is set to increment, then when I move things this should snap to this grid size. So I'm going to go to the move tool over here, and I can move along the different axes by using corresponding arrows here. So I'm going to choose the red one, and now I can snap perfectly to the grid there. Go back to the top view. I can duplicate this object by holding Shift and pressing D for duplicate, and then it automatically grabs and moves it. But to cancel that I can right click and then I can move it again like this, so we can see that they snap into the grid. And I can easily add more shapes with Shift and add, and I'm going to pick something different this time. I think I'll go with a cylinder, and again I can just move that and it'll snap to the grid and it'll fit nicely on top of my other objects. And I think I'll add one more. This time I'll go with a torus. We can see that we get some different options with the torus. So we can have different thickness. And then just move it on top of my other cube. It's important to know that the settings that appear when you first add an object disappear once you've clicked off them and you can't access them again. So if you need to make any changes there, you'll want to do that as soon as you add the object. Next up we're going to take a look at the shading options. So we've got a choice between smooth and flat. At the moment these are all on flat apart from the sphere, which has got the smooth shading. Flat will give you all of the flat faces, and smooth will try to smooth it off, as the name suggests. So we can go and apply smooth shading to this, but we'll see we're getting some weird shading issues there that don't look quite right, and we can't see where the top and bottom edges are. So to fix that we need to make sure we've got the object selected, and then we'll go down to this icon down here, Object Data Properties, and go to the Normals drop down, and we just have to enable Auto Smooth here. And then the smoothing is going to be based on the angle amount. So we can change the angle amount here, and we'll see that as soon as we go over 90 degrees we lose that top edge there because the angle is exactly 90 degrees. And when we go below the angle of each of these faces, we'll see that they no longer get smoothed. So you can play with that for each object and get it exactly how you want. So I'm just going to stick with the default 30 degrees for this one. And I can go over to the torus and do shade smooth. And I think that's looking okay, but we will also enable auto smooth, and then we can just play with the angle until we're happy. So I think around 40 degrees works for all of the parts. And the cubes that are right there don't need smooth shading, but we can put smooth shading on and enable auto smooth, and then we can see that we're back to just as if it was flat shading. And the last thing I want to show you in this tutorial is how to add materials to your objects, so we can start adding a bit of colour. So to do that, we just need to click on any of the objects, go down to this icon here, which is material properties, and click new. And then we can just change the base colour to anything we want. So I'll maybe pick this green. And at the moment we're not going to see a difference, and that is because at the top right we're in the solid mode shading. So we need to go over to the end option here, which is the render preview. And now we can see our colour. So I can go over to a different object and I can either choose new to make a new one, or I can click this drop down to pick a material that we've already made. But I'm going to go and choose new, and I'll pick a different colour this time. And underneath we also get a lot of other options like roughness. So if we turn this down, we're going to get a more shiny surface. And we've got metallic. So I'm going to go and I'll colour all of the other objects too quickly, just by picking different colours. And we can also choose between white and black and grey just by going up and down the slider here. So there we have all different coloured objects, and we can hide the grid and all the other things by turning off the overlay here. And we've also got some settings up here in the render properties, so we can enable ambient occlusion, which we can't see a lot at the moment. If I crank the factor up to maybe 3, we'll see that we're getting some darker spots around the edges, like where the shadows would be. And if we turn up the distance, we'll see that more clearly. And underneath we've got bloom, which is from the light. It's going to give you a bit of a glow around the light areas. And if we've got reflective surfaces, we're going to want to turn on screen space reflections, and then we can start to see reflections of our other objects. And the final thing I want to show you before we end this tutorial is how to take a snapshot of your viewport so you can share it with your friends or show people. So you can get your view to wherever you want it to be, and then if we go up to view and down to viewport render image, and then that's going to render whatever's on the screen, and then you can go up to the top and image, save as, and then you can save your image wherever you want to save it. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope this video has helped, and in the next video we're going to be moving on to modeling. So I'll see you in that video.